Great. Well, thank everyone for coming. I think all of these courses are great courses, each going to a different geography. I'm teaching a course called that we call the European Study Tour. And the interesting angle about the European Study Tour is that we take a family business perspective on this. So it's really designed to be talking about a combination of family businesses and entrepreneurship in Europe. And to give you a brief overview, I'll kind of start out and describe the logistics. So logistically, the course starts out with 2 half-day Saturday classes. I'll tell you a little bit more about that once I go through the logistics of where we actually go. But the trip is typically 2 weeks. Right now, we're thinking that the trip is going to be April 30th to May 14th. And we visit Berlin, Koblenz and Frankfurt, and Rotterdam and Amsterdam are the 3 major areas that we go. And typically we have space for about 30 students in the class, and they're a combination of MBAs and undergraduate students. So that's the big picture of the course itself. I'll let Jane later on talk about the financial component of this. But essentially we start out, and this year we think that we'll go to Berlin. Some of the logistics as far as the particular companies and the order that we go will be a little bit different. But we're going to go to Berlin. And the general idea is with each of the cities that we go to, we start out and we visit one university. So we have a partner university where we have a professor who studies family business and European entrepreneurship, and they'll talk about a topic. And so we have a relationship with the Technical University of Berlin. And so we'll do a day of where we spend essentially a half day in classes being taught by a European professor. And those classes are interactive. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but the general idea behind that is to get you exposed to European teachers teaching about how family business operates in Europe. And then what we do is, in addition to having kind of one day that's focused on the academic component of it, we essentially fill the rest of the time up with site visits. So in terms of the formal course-related type activities, one of the highlights last year was we went to German Parliament, which we're trying to do again. And there we have a person who is that scheduled? May 4th. By the way, Professor Rolf Miras handles a lot of the coordination with us. He's German and does a great job of basically negotiating access to a lot of great spots. But we'll be visiting German Parliament, and that's essentially, the building is fantastic. But on top of that, we have a ex-University of Alberta professor who is actually a member of Parliament. And so we get to have lunch in Parliament itself and talk to him about some of the political dynamics that are going on in Germany that affect family business and entrepreneurship. As well, another real highlight of the trip is we will spend some time at the Canadian Embassy. And the embassy is very helpful for, a lot of you might be interested in doing international business, for example. And what's nice about the embassy is they have a lot of resources that can help people who want to do business in Germany basically enter into Germany. And so we'll spend time there as well, and basically have presentations from the people who are responsible for facilitating trade. On top of that, we'll spend time in some family businesses themselves. So last year, and I think we'll do the same this year, we spent time at a company called Otto Bach. Otto Bach makes prosthetic limbs. So for example, if you had your leg amputated, Otto Bach would basically create the prosthetic device that you could use to walk. A very innovative company. And another company that we looked at, there's a family foundation in Germany that essentially takes all of the large family businesses, and they form an association to essentially lobby for their political interests there. We spent time with the person who runs that family business, and again, very, very insightful about the dynamics of what it means to do business as a large or medium-sized family enterprise in Berlin. A couple other things that I didn't put up there, but one of the highlights last year that we'll do again is we actually go to Berlin Stadium, the same place where they had the 1936 Olympics, and we'll watch a soccer game, which was a lot of fun. It's really amazingly energetic. I don't know if any of you have been to a European football game, but it's a different experience. So, and we also have a lot of time in Berlin as well. We'll be there over a weekend where we'll be able to do cultural activities like visiting the Berlin Wall, going to a lot of the museums there as well. So that's the first stop on the tour, which is probably going to be the first week, which is Berlin. From there, we will go to Frankfurt and Koblenz. Now, Frankfurt is the major financial center of Germany. Koblenz is a little bit more of I guess I would describe it as it almost feels more touristy, but it's a smaller, more rural area, but it's in between two rivers, the Rhine and the Moselle, if I remember right. And essentially there's a lot of castles in that area, and the reason why we go there is it's close to our partner university there, WHU, where we'll go and we'll spend a day with them and visit that castle. And then we also go to Merck KGaA, which is one of the highlights of the tour. Merck it's not the same company as the Merck in the U.S. It's the German version of Merck. They were separated after the war, but they're a very dynamic pharmaceutical producer. But as well, they also, a lot of people don't know that, but they basically have 70% of the market on the liquid crystals that or go into all the LCD TVs that you see out there. So they're really a very dynamic family business. And finally, we're hoping that we can schedule a visit at the European Central Bank, which is very nice as well. Typically, when we've been able to get the timing to work there, they'll provide us with a couple of people who will give us presentations about how the euro is basically administrated. A couple years ago, it was at the time of the Greek issue that was going on, and we had some very real-world, up-to-date conversations about what's happening there. I'm sure this year the whole issue of Brexit will be at the top of everybody's agenda and discussion. So this really is a great spot on the trip. And we close off the trip by going to Rotterdam and Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So there we have a partnership with a company called a school called the Rotterdam School of Management at Erasmus University, and a great professor who we have a partnership with there. And they've hooked us up with different companies in the times we've been there. The first year we went to a company called De Kuyper Distillers. Anyone familiar with De Kuyper? They basically make premium liqueurs. So if you have mixed drinks, De Kuyper would be in a lot of those mixed drinks. They are a business that was founded in the 1600s, 13th generation family business. When we were there, for example, we talked with the 35-year-old 13th generation second in command of the business, and got to talk about some of the processes associated with his succession. Last year we didn't go to De Kuyper, we went to another company called Van Oord. They're a marine contractor. If you're not familiar with what marine contractors do, the type of thing that Van Oord does, for example, is if you have heard about, like in Dubai, or maybe you've seen pictures where they basically build an island out of nothing in the water there, they would be the contractors who would do that. And again, this is a fourth generation family business. We were talking with the leader of the company, talking through how he manages family dynamics in the business, and had one of his son, or actually two children who were in the business, who kind of walked around with us, and we got to see, for example, the simulators they use to practice dredging. So, really great field sites there. There's a Rotterdam revitalization project in the downtown area where they've basically taken an old rundown area and created a new, kind of a combination of a farmer's market and a brewery that we go and visit as well. But a lot of great spots in Rotterdam for us to visit. As you can tell from that picture there, it's actually one of the architecturally really great city to visit. It was essentially bombed during World War II, and so had to be rebuilt from scratch. So you just have a new kind of fresh architectural perspective. As well, after Rotterdam, we don't do any formal coursework in Amsterdam, but the last day is essentially a free day where everyone can go to Amsterdam and get a feel for the more traditional city. So those are the three areas. Essentially, we have 3 partner universities, we have 3 to 6 site visits, and then we have a lot of cultural excursions at this area. So in terms of how the course works, not to spend a lot of time on this, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But in general, the goal is to help you as students understand the dynamics associated with family business and entrepreneurship in Europe. And in many ways, it's really a very hands-on way to do that. And the second purpose really is to give you face-to-face interaction with executives in Europe. A lot of times, one of the things that's nice about these family businesses is, in Europe, they have a lot of pride. If you look at a company like Merck or De Kuyper, where it's 12 or 13 generations, they really want to share about the business. And so Merck, for example, has a whole system set up to basically share their history with potential visitors.
And they gave one of our MBAs.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So last year as well, we had a director of treasury give a presentation, and one of our MBA students was interested. She applied for an internship and actually got a several-month internship with Merck. So that's a great relationship and partnership we have with Merck. In terms of the class structure, essentially as in this class we don't have a lot of time to go into a lot of materials, so essentially we teach it as a case-based teaching method, but what's unique about the way that we do this is the cases and everything that we do will revolve around the companies and the areas that we're going to visit. So the idea of the 2 sessions we have before the course is to give you feedback both for your own group projects and for your classmates' group projects to essentially get an in-depth understanding of the companies that we go to, so we can essentially show well and really give and really do our homework and add value sometimes in the questions that we ask to the people that we visit. So that's it. I think this is really, students for the most part really love this experience. I think that there's a lot of ways where it provides opportunities for you to think differently about your career. It's a lot of fun almost all the time on this, and really in many ways this is one of the capstone courses from the family business perspective. Some of you have taken some of these courses, but we have courses on advising family business, managing family enterprise, international family enterprise, and really this is the last component of that trip. And one of the reasons why I highlight that is if you have taken one of these courses, there's a special, I think, $250 discount for students who have taken a family business course that they get deducted off the price of the tour. So that's it. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.